to start it off, coming back down from 3-1 twice, going to the conference finals for the first time since '09, and then before that it was '85, both times losing to the Lakers. You said on Twitter that you still hate the Lakers, right? I mean, you still remember that 2009 season pretty well, right?
Well, that was the closest, other than playing in the finals, that was the closest to, I think, to winning a championship that I got. And, your whole life as a coach is to hold the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of a season and have that for 1 year on your pedestal. And, it's something I always would have loved to have. And you remember the moments where you're really close.
Mm-hmm. What was different about that team than some of the other ones you maybe coached?
I mean, we were talented in many ways. We had good, Melo and Chauncey, and our offense was very high efficiency. And defensively, we never were a great defensive team, but we always could figure out how to be a good defensive team at the end of a game. And I think Chauncey's leadership was really impressive. He joined our team, that year, and we had a hell of a run. And I just admired Chauncey for a guy that, was a really good basketball player, really talented basketball player, but his leadership and his mentality was probably the reason he was a champion.
Yeah. So what are your overall impressions of this team right now with the way Jamal's playing and the way Joker has played? What are your overall impressions?
I think it's an historical run, not only in Denver history, but I think maybe in NBA history, to come back from 3-1, and the bubble being a unique experience for all the teams. It seems in a quiet way that the Denver Nuggets and maybe the Miami Heat have figured out the bubble better than anybody else. Instead of it becoming a depressant or a negative, Coach Malone has turned it into kind of a positive thing, a positive energy. And they're growing. They're gaining confidence. They're connecting better. Their bench is playing better than any bench probably in the NBA. The Clippers had two of the best bench players ever to play in the NBA. And they controlled the bench, and they dominated from the bench. And I think the Lakers series, even though it's going to come down on a lot to Jokic and Murray versus Anthony Davis and LeBron, I think it's going to come down. Those stars are going to be very, very important. But the role players are going to have to play some roles that maybe they haven't played before. They might have to upgrade their games, upscale their involvement and their responsibility. To win 4 games out of 7, it takes a lot of people to help out.
Were you surprised the way it all played out against the Clippers, or no? Did you sort of expect something else?
I think the 3-1 thing is harder when you're playing on someone else's home court. So that's been eliminated. So it's a different psychology. So I don't spend the time saying that it's good or bad or right or wrong or this is better than that. It was still a very difficult task to win 3 games against a good basketball team. Is very, very tough, very hard. But what I saw that was more valuable was how Jokic and Murray have become a twosome at the offensive end of the court in the fourth quarter. That is as good as anybody in the NBA right now. And that's a powerful thing to have because, you know that your team isn't afraid of the fourth quarter. They can play good defense and they can play good offense. And that's unusual. And I think that in a very quiet way, Denver has improved their defense into being a top-notch defensive team now. Gary Harris coming back, I thought was magical almost. I mean, they were very ordinary defensively most of the bubble. Maybe people would call it bad defense. And Gary Harris comes in there, and all of a sudden they got multiple efforts and hustle plays and deflections and all the little things of defense that wins games and wins championships. And with Jokic and Murray, their offense right now is, as I said, it's flowing. It's unselfish. It's connected. There's a lot of intangibles in the game of basketball that the Denver Nuggets are doing very, very well right now.
As a coach and as a fan of the game, I mean, it must make you happy to see the steps and the progress that those two, the Joker and Murray, have taken, because it just shows growth, right? And that's so important nowadays in your young stars.
So, I mean, there's an individual growth that you always want to see your players. I mean, anytime you have two guys on your basketball team that can get 50, it's pretty powerful. And both Jokic and Murray have shown that, even though I think Jokic prefers a triple-double over a 50-point performance. But, Jokic right now is the best point guard on their team and maybe the second best point guard in the NBA Finals and in the Final Four. I mean, LeBron's the only guy that I think is a better playmaker than he is. Kemba Walker is I really love as a point guard, but he's not playing that as well as right now as LeBron and Jokic is playing.
Thoughts on the job that Michael Malone has done, just taking this team step by step? Because I think a lot of people would maybe question if they didn't get to a Western Conference Finals this year, they wouldn't have seen the progress, but now there is progress. So what are your sort of thoughts on what he's done with the team?
I'm very impressed how he stayed positive through a lot of being down 3-1. Keeping your team energized and positive is very difficult. And he's done it. He's done it 6 games, twice against pretty good basketball teams. I mean, Denver's better than Utah. I thought Denver should have won, beaten Utah. But Utah's a good basketball team. And the Clippers, talent-wise, has more skills probably than the Denver Nuggets. But I love it when a team beats talent. I'm 100% behind it, because I think that's the great nature of basketball. Talent doesn't win championships. Teams win championships.
Every time a team goes up against LeBron, it's how do you slow him down? How do you stop him? I mean, you really can't. But how would you go about dealing with him and Davis?
Well, I would try to direct the game to Anthony Davis, because I think he's more individualistic, as where LeBron is more Jokic-like. He makes other people better, And I've always felt when we were used to play against LeBron, we wanted him to play one-on-one and try to be an offensive player rather than a facilitator. I still think that's probably the way to go, but, I think Michael Malone and his coaching staff will have to have at least 2 or 3 different plans on how to play him. Do you want to double team him and take the ball out of his hands? Do you want to, give him the jump shot, the 2-point jump shot, and try to keep him off the free throw line and the 3-point line? But my preference is, I think LeBron, I trust LeBron being his greatness has been proven. So I would try to make the emphasis of maybe putting pressure on their bench or Anthony Davis to be more responsible for success.
How special is it for the city of Denver that they are in the conference finals, and how even more special would it be if they make it to the finals?
Well, making it to the finals, I think, I think the Final Four is tremendous. I mean, I don't know how many Final Fours I played in, probably 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know, 5 or 6. There's not much difference between the Final Four and the finals. I mean, once you get by this stage, you're one step closer, but you're still going to have to beat a really good basketball team. In 2009, I think we all knew that we could beat Orlando. The championship series was beating the Lakers, and we failed at doing that. So, I mean, they're close. They're close to being, so many NBA teams are pretenders. I think Denver and Miami and Boston have not proven that they're contenders and probably will be contenders for, the window's probably 3, 4, 5 years. And now you're just trying to learn about the process. The NBA playoffs is a long, long, hard road. They're halfway there. But the second half of the journey is probably twice as hard as the first half. So they got a lot of work to do. I think everybody's excited about it because they got young kids that are learning and they're connecting and they're growing. In that process, everybody likes to be celebrated. And we get to enjoy some great basketball in the middle of September in a crazy way.
For sure. Last thing for you. You said on Twitter, you know the Nuggets can win a couple games. You don't know if they can win 4. So are you going to give me a prediction? Do you want to give one out there or what?
I think it's a closer series than people are giving it. I mean, the national people aren't giving it much love. I think what's important, Denver can't get down 3-1. You can't, that formula is not going to work. I hope they get a win in the first couple games. If they can get it 1-1 and make it a 5-game series, I think then it'll be a long series. But if the Lakers could get off to a 2-0 lead with some momentum, I think it's going to be real difficult for them. So I think they got to get a win here early. And you never know after that. The shorter the series that you make it, you never know what can happen.
All right, Coach, I appreciate it. Stay healthy, and hopefully we see this team go a little further.
Jacob, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you.
Thanks, sir. See ya.
Bye-bye.